So, welcome to another Straight Talking Property podcast with myself, Ashley Banfield. We've got Brett in Singapore, Brett Allegra Wood from Brett's Property Rant, soon to be Rant Education. Is that right, mate?
Well, that's the education company, yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing another thing, yeah, good. A regular now, we've got Emmanuel Ezekiel on his terrace in his penthouse with the sun behind him and the blue sky. How's it going?
It's all good, thank you. All
Yeah,
good.
that's nice. And we've got Jimmy London with his massive headphones on. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, mate. Thank you. All good.
And by the way, how is the missus? Because I've seen a few things on social media. You tagging sort of lion's tails to her, tying her up, and she can't get out, and generally all around just annoying her. And I can see she's not actually sitting behind her in the office at the moment.
No, she's not behind me now. So this is her desk, yeah. So no, I'm a bit of a wind up. I'll get that off the old man. I'm always playing jokes on people, and
That's what happens when you're locked down.
yeah, I
You have
know.
to create more entertainment.
Yeah,
Mate,
and
it's actually good to watch. Yeah, I'll share a few of those with with people. You might get some weird sort of likes on your social media at some stage. And we've got Chris Denman on the sound as always. A special congratulations from all of us and all the listeners, I'm sure, to the arrival of Iris on the 26th of April.
We all want to know. We all want to know who's the daddy.
Not you.
The evidence does point to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, what born in the beer.
Welcome to the 2 Kid Club, mate. It actually gets harder from here, just so you know.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And
I'll leave your boys to it. Go talk property.
Good, well done, mate. I think 26th of April. Yeah, I think we discussed this same date as my mum. So happy birthday to mum, God. And Mother's Day coming up in Australia soon. Don't forget, Brett.
Yep, and Singapore.
And Singapore as well. Good. So listen, let's crack on. Lockdown's been interesting. We've had lots of work done at home, etc., etc., etc. Outside, obviously, nothing can be done inside. My wife's been trying to. She's painted my new office, which is why I'm out here. And for somebody who hates painting, she's doing a lot of it. Now, what we want to talk about today is, I guess it's still key to be talking about the coronavirus because it's still here. Although Boris Johnson is going to announce on Sunday, as of Monday, there will be some release of lockdown being sort of loosened, if you like. So I don't know what that will be, etc. Now, I also know that because we're nursery owners, is that my kids are going back to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next month.
Oh, wow.
Can't say how upset I am for that with homeschooling. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm sure most people will resonate with that. So she can now do that because she has to now go back and has been asked to go back and start planning for the end of lockdown to be phased in. So it's all good, positive news. So in relation to that and the positive news that we are, if you like, on the way out of lockdown in the UK, and I know Australia they're hitting zeros in Western Australia, 0 cases, 0 deaths, and all that sort of stuff. So I just want us all to chip in and help people from our experience on how they should be operating as a current property investor or budding property investor in the current coronavirus lockdown and what we should be doing after this all ends. So that's the subject for today. And volunteer, please, of who would like to chip in first. Emmanuel, thank you. And let's do this around your expertise.
I'm happy to chip into this, but this podcast really would not be long enough to cover all the different things that we need to talk about specifically. So the first thing I'd like to say is that every single property investor, business owner, should be availing themselves of all the support packages that the government have put in place first and foremost, whether it be the business interruption loan, the CBIL loan, the quick start loan, or all the other benefits that the government have put in place to help to shore up your business. That's first and foremost. You've got to look at where you are now before you can look forward. So the first thing is looking at all of those areas, because there really are some amazing things the government done. So CBIL loan, as I said, it's fantastic. The new startup, effectively booster loan, that literally you go on your bank account. Brett will add something to this because I know this is one of his areas. He's smiling away over there, so he's going to chip in a second. So literally, you go to your bank account website, you go on the website, you go to business loan, you click on the loan, you make the application, and it really is as simple as that. It's effectively 25% of your turnover. So if you've had a rent roll of 100 grand a year, you can claim 25,000 to go back into your account to just help you shore up where you need to be. If you've got a service accommodation where your turnover might be even higher. So you need to be looking at the different support packages the government put in place to you to allow you to do that. If you're a landlord, you need to be communicating with your tenant to make sure they're not taking a payment holiday because they think it's free, and going through all the steps that they need to do to prove and verify they have been affected by the coronavirus, not they're just going to take this as a payment holiday. So going through all the steps and all the measures that they need to do, and maybe either through myself or Brett, we'll put a link at the bottom of this so they can actually click on to all the different benefits that the tenant should be claiming for, whether it be furloughed, if they're self-employed, universal credit, all the different things to avail themselves. So that's first and foremost. So I'll pass that on to you, Brett, now.
I'll just chip in there as well, Ash here, just before we do. So we've got several businesses and we've applied for the bounce back loan, the BBLS from the government, on all of our businesses, simply because there is still some uncertainty of when all of this may end. It could be in 6 weeks, could be in 6 months. We don't know. So, my wife, even with the nursery and that type of thing, what we've done is we've claimed for the maximum amount that we can claim, and we will leave that money in there because it is 12 months free money. You don't pay any interest for 12 months. So we'll say to ourselves, look, if we need it, then we'll use it. If we don't, we'll just pay it back, and it hasn't cost us anything because the government takes care of all of the fees and all of their interest in that first year. Even if you do go to the 50 grand at 2.5%, I think it works out over 6 years that you only pay back £54,500. Now, another thing to that is you could be quite savvy. If you actually have loans now within your business, and they could be more 4, 5, and I know some people have got business loans at a 10, 11%, which is crazy money. Now, why wouldn't you take the money, pay those loans out, and you've reduced your monthly payments and the amount of interest that you pay substantially? So that's my little bit. Over to you, Brett.
Yeah, and 100%. You can apply even if you've got properties in your own name, because effectively buy-to-let is a business. It's being treated like a business, so therefore you can apply. So I've just applied for my own name. Now, the only thing they said was because I've had the money come into my own personal bank account, they won't allow that, but they've set up a special bank account where it's a commercial bank account. So you've just got to set that up. So there's an extra step if you've got it in your own name. So I'm actually applying through my company and I'm applying through my business for exactly that reason, is that, we don't know where we're going into, and I think it's better to have and, not need than to not have. And I think at 2.5%, paying back over 6 years, getting that first year free, why not? I mean, literally it costs you nothing to apply. It's free money for a year. And even if you do nothing but sit in an account, obviously if you take it, you're going to have to pay it back. But $50,000 in my bank account is, I don't mind that. So I think.
Can I add something to that? Because I've always been an advocate of not taking money for the sake of taking money, because you've got to pay it back at some point. So if you're a business person, this is a business loan to help you with your business. So if you're able to use this as a business loan to help you with your activity, to reduce your interest costs and actually do something of real benefit, not just to shore up your account, it's supposed to be working capital to allow you to progress your business. That's what it should be used for, because a lot of people might take the money and they won't be able to pay it back in the future. So this is really for you to look at your cash flow, your assets, and do it as a proper business proposition. Although it's interest free, make sure that you have a business strategy that allows you to pay it back. If it's not in the 12 months, over the 6-year period, that you're doing a proper business plan to do it, because otherwise people are just creating debt that they can't repay going forward. So I just want to put that sort of caveat there, if that's all right.
And that's a very good point, because what will happen is people think, oh, I'll borrow it in a limited company, I'll go and spend it on holidays or do whatever with it. Well, if you fold that company within whatever time, the first year, and you say to them, sorry, I couldn't pay it back, they will still push you as yourself and try to chase you for the money. Now, if you can't show, whether you're using Xero or QuickBooks or anything like that, you can't show the money trail of where all that money went, i.e. business expenses, they will chase you personally because you spent it on personal stuff. So be very, very careful not to try and buck the system and get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but I think the one of the things too is you've got these opportunities to actually turn this around and use it as a positive thing. And I think as a business person, if somebody's giving you cheap money like that you can employ, and you're right, Emmanuel, if you're not disciplined and you're just going to go spend it on holidays, well, more for you. But the reality is, if you can find something to do with it, I mean, one of the things I'm doing right now is pivoting a number of businesses where we've been going this direction and we're sort of pivoting there. Like we're just in our London office, we're handing the keys back to our London office. Well, we've given notice, so we've got 3 months notice. But we're moving out because we want to go into a bigger office where the guys get more. Not that we want more people. Actually, we want less people in the office. We want more space, and we want a bit more of a funky office and that sort of thing. So, we're doing that right now, taking the opportunity, and why not?
Well, there's a really key word that you use. I don't know if any of you guys noticed it, but you said you're taking the money to employ it, which means you're going to make it work. That's a really key word. So you're taking the money, you're employing it, you're making your money go out and work for you, and that's really key. So people that take the money are going to use it to employ it in their business, to grow and to shore up the business. So that's really the key word, and the point I was trying to get across.
Yeah, 100%.
Good.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, anything from you, re the pub and that type of thing, other businesses? What have you sort of done around the loan?
Yeah, well, I obviously that was live on Monday, wasn't it? We could apply for that. So same thing for me.
Yeah.
I've done it for my property rental business. I've done it for the pubs. I've done it for the hotels. I've done it also for mine and my missus's holding company. We've just applied for it all. If we use it, great. If we don't, then I'm going to look at making the money work for me, because yes, it is free money and it's great to have that. But I've got some people I know that took large business loans out that are paying 11, 12, 16 odd %. One of them was that I just said to him, look, apply for it, knock that off. It's it's not rocket science, and what some people's like, and I didn't think of that. I didn't see that there. So yeah, it's like how thick are some people, but there's people that I know that in the rent to rent business that opened their companies over a year ago that have only got one property, that didn't have a lot of cash flow, that maxed out all their credit cards because they were starting on such a low budget. I said, well, look, you're going to be liable for some money here, which potentially could be another deal for you. So, putting it out there for the people that's starting out, it's a nice boost. I always say turn a disaster into a profit. I mean, look at us with a pub. Yes, we took a bit of a kick in the teeth with that one at the moment, but I know for a fact that, everything, as soon as it all goes back, we're going to come back bigger and better. There's going to be more bookings and I also think travelling with the service accommodation side of things. I live down on the coast, down in Whitstable, and all the holiday homes I can see in all along the Kent coast now are just going to be getting booked up from the next month or so, because I can't see people flying at the moment. I think it's going to take a while for holidays to get back together, and the whole, sort of booking the family holiday and that. So I think the UK as a holiday destination for us and things happening, I think it's just, it's going to be booming.
Yeah, especially, yeah, I agree with that because, the people that we mentor, what they're saying, hotels and stuff, we are all pushing now down a route of staycations for the next 2 months at least.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Don't get
and there is a massive, massive opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've all taken a hit on the accommodation side, and I had a couple of things lined up that unfortunately didn't come through with some nurses staying there. It all sounded good on the last podcast, but when they've actually, come through and saying that they want it now for 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, now we're noticing such a dip in the virus that I know that Airbnb, I know that Premier Inn now are losing their bookings that they had with all the all the NHS staff, because I've spoken to our council, the one that we've got, the pub in Haringey, Lewisham, Greenwich. All these councils now are sorry, not the councils, the hospitals. They're all saying that they don't need the accommodation now, which is a good thing in a way. It's like they've not used the Excel. Yes, they set the Excel up and they spent millions on it. Okay, yes, it was, sort of money spent, but you'd rather it be not being used than it being used, because it's a positive for us. So,
can I give you some input from the other group of hotels, Shepherd Cox group of hotels? They've obviously got a number of hotels. They're going to have to plan for the reopening. And part of it is that you're going to have part of the guidelines is 24 hours between one booking and another, and to show the room has been fully cleaned. So you might have to have minimum booking stays of maybe 3, 4, 5 nights.
And also it said a floor at a time. It was saying a floor at a time to open, not the whole place. I did read that yesterday.
Yeah, so it could be a floor at a time, or it could be one side compared to the other. So they're trying to obviously keep the social distancing.
Yeah.
So, or it might be every other room. So it's looking at your accommodation and how you can plan it. So you actually might need a really good actuary to work out the optimum to actually do that for you, to maximise it if you have large accommodation.
Yeah.
Yeah, good points. Because ours is over 3 levels, Jimmy. So
yeah,
I don't know how. Maybe we do alternative rooms or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is you need to be planning now for what the next stage is. I mean, we've got rid of the virus side, or not got rid of it, but we've got rid of the virus over the hump. And, so there's all the human tragedy, but now it's the economic, and they're getting back into and opening back up. So as a business, I know I've spent a couple of days now where I've literally just been sitting here going, right, what do I need to consider? What are the aspects? Social distancing is only one part. It's like, how do you open a door that there's only one way in and one way out? Do you wipe it every time? Do you give them gloves to walk in and out? What about if it's out the door to the toilet? And it's like, how do you go to the toilet? Do you have, and it's all these sort of things where you go, bloody hell. Or do you assume that, okay, I'm going to take this risk, but not that risk? And, it's some hard questions. And in some ways, the government isn't giving us the detail. Maybe Boris will, and he's holding him back till tomorrow. But it seems like there's a lot of people who know a lot of stuff. Sunday. Yeah, you're right. Sunday, but actually nothing's really set in stone right now. It seems everybody's got a different opinion. I know I saw a letting agent opened up yesterday and, said social distancing in one door, out the other, all that sort of stuff, and got a huge backlash and closed today, so it's hard right now.
There's a couple of things that, in terms of service accommodation, that you could and should be doing to be ahead of the market. So while we're on lockdown, I would certainly say that you do a virtual tour of your properties, not with pictures, but a virtual tour. And during the virtual tour, you talk about that you have a professional company that's doing the professional cleaning. They come in that are certified. So to put you ahead of the other competition, you need to be able to stand out. And how you're going to stand out? One is presence, in terms of showing your accommodation in the best light. So a virtual tour would be really good. And a virtual tour, not only showing the property, but showing all the benefits. You're talking about the things that you have, like your Nespresso machines and your Siri and all the bits and pieces that you have that's over and above everybody else. And that will put you ahead of the service accommodation. So that's a freebie that you can start adding into your training, Ash.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers. Yeah.
But that's the same with the with my market, with the HMO side of things. I've got my viewings girl before lockdown to say, look, go round there and do virtual. Even if it's just on your phone, just go round there, get the virtual done of the property, because already we've got people that are wanting to move in as of, like, you know, sort of the next couple of weeks. So she'd done 5 rooms already, taken deposits, and they'd not even gone in the property. So, and it goes the same with the serviced accommodation side, yeah. You know, because people, as soon as Boris release, you know, now you can social with 10 friends or with family, things are going to start moving. Bookings are going to start coming in. So
I've got to try and think where I'm going to find 10 friends, mate.
We've noticed we had probably the first 3 weeks where, actually probably the first week it was quite quiet in terms of tenants saying we're leaving, we can't pay, all that sort of stuff. Then we had sort of 3 weeks where we got absolutely slammed with tenants saying, I can't pay, I'm not paying, I haven't got any money, I've lost my job, I furloughed, you know, all that. But actually what happened, and we probably had, I mean, we had at least 400 calls that I was able to check on. But of those 400 calls, we've only got about 30 of those that have actually come through and followed through on filling out our form to say, actually, this is my hardship, this is, you know, everything I wanted to negotiate, and that we've had to negotiate, which is, you know, compared to what we thought it might be. I mean, I did models for 30%, 50%, and 80%, and it's working out as, you know, negligible right now, which it's not negligible for the people who have suffered. I mean, the other side of it is not the people in hardship, but the people who have said, I'm leaving, and given notice, which is the other side. So I've actually had 2 of my tenants say, I'm leaving. Now, one of them said, either give me a free period until we go back out of lockout, or else I'm handing my notice in. And I said, well, hand your notice in. I mean, that's one of the properties that I'm going to turn into a service apartment, which I chatted to you about, actually. But, you know, so it actually hasn't come out as bad as it could have. Now, obviously, for the people who aren't getting paid and that, it's bad. But so I think that's a good thing for getting back on the horse and opening back up again, is it actually hasn't been as bad, you know, from the medical perspective, but also from the unemployment perspective.
Yeah, I was quite shocked, to be honest, Brett, when I got over 230 odd tenants, and it was a bit of a scare, because I just assumed, right, everyone's going to go, Jimmy, I've lost my job, I can't pay my rent, and then my business goes from literally, you know. Yeah. And I, as much as you can't plan for 200 plus tenants to not pay their rent. It's you know, that's just ludicrous. So to be honest, I've probably got about, I'd say, 12, possibly 15 now people that can't pay their rent, and that's, you know, I was quite,
that's massive.
Quite
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a couple, you know. Yeah, I've got a couple where I've given the 80% rent because they're getting 80% wages. But yeah, you know, 12 to 15 people that can't pay their rent. I was quite pleased with that, because it could have gone the other way, like you said.
Which, to be fair, when I did my numbers, when I was looking at it, I actually did my numbers on what's our normal rate, which is about 3%, and then, you know, if you add to that, you know, it's no more than 10%, which is actually quite good. And a lot of those too, some of those are the self-employed people who are being furloughed, but they don't get their money until June for the furlough.
June, yeah.
So they've said, listen, I can't pay now, but when the money comes in, I'll get it in. But even some of those have gone out and got the universal credit and asked for the advance payment. And then they come back to us and say, oh, by the way, here's the money. So the government schemes are working, you know, and actually I've done a few videos of how to go online and do that, because a lot of the tenants were like, you know, oh, I've got no money, I can't pay, and it's like, well, get on this site and do this and do that and apply. And the amount of times we've had people come back to it going, thank goodness for your video, you know, I've done that, and they've approved my universal credit or the, you know, whatever. So, you know, so it's quite good actually, that side of it. You know, it hasn't been anywhere near as bad.
Where is that? Where is that website, Brett?
Fish.com/COVID-19. And basically there's over 50 videos there that I've done since COVID started, basically on everything to do with investors and even tenants and things like that. There's a whole heap of stuff.
Right, good.
Yeah,
I'll check that out.
So we've covered most of what's going on at the moment. So let's fast forward. Let's fast forward 2 months, 3 months. What are we prepping for? What are we doing now? What do we? I mean, no one's got a crystal ball or whatever like that. But what are we planning for at the moment for the next 2 to 3 months?
So I'll start. So I've got different businesses. So my property management business, we're going on an acquisition. We think there's a lot of landlords who are pissed off with their agents because they haven't even heard from them, and are out. And we've noticed that already. Our new landlords are just signing up on our website and saying, I've got these properties. Can you help me? Can you look after them? Has gone through the roof. So we're actually getting that benefit. We're going to start capitalizing on that. So that's the first thing. But then the other side is the sales side, which has been totally furloughed. Interestingly, we've had an 80% drop in sales. So we're still making sales, new sales, fresh new sales, even off that. So, things are still happening. But what we're doing is we're working out how to phase back in, and whether we bring everyone back from furlough or whether we bring the senior guys and then sort of work our way down. Because we think it's going to take about 3 months to get back up to full capacity of where we're selling at the same rate we were before. Because I just think, you've had all these conversations where you were warming people up to a sale, and now that's been stopped, and a lot of people are going to wait to see what happens with the property market.
Yeah, and Emmanuel, I know that you've had some. Thanks, Brett. I know, Emmanuel, on the developing side, people bringing deals to you now. What's the opportunity look like for people out there looking to start property development? Is it a good time to start? Should they wait and just wait for the herd to mass along and then miss out? From your point of view, I know you've got loads of people who send you loads of deals. What's the landscape look like for you for the next 2 to 3 months, or even now?
Well, the landscape is beginning to open up. There's lots of opportunities in lots of different areas. However, what I would say, if you're just starting in development, unless you're doing it with somebody that knows what they're doing, it's going to be a minefield. It's going to be walking a minefield. You're going to get your foot blown off somewhere where you don't know where you're treading. Yeah. So it's so important in the current market. We talked about over the last few weeks about spending this time to educate yourself, to start increasing your network, finding out how you want to invest, who you want to invest with. So development is a whole new level of investing in property. It's the hardest discipline to actually learn, so you need to do it with somebody. But there's lots of other strategies that you can be taking advantage of right now in the current marketplace. So, whether it be buy to let, rent to buy, there's so many options. There's so many different strategies that you can use in addition to property development. So if you want to learn property development, as I've said many times before, find somebody that's experienced and go on the journey with them. They'll educate you. There's so many moving parts in the development that you just don't understand. I'm still learning every day after 25 years. So that's really important. But there are some great opportunities coming through, either people that have actually bought land that they can't complete, they've exchanged, they can't complete because the values have gone down. You've got people that have taken options on property. They've now got planning permission, but the values have gone down and they can't complete. And you also have developers at different stages of their project that may not be able to continue because they're funding and they've actually breached lenders' covenants. So there's lots of different opportunities, but the way that you're going to do that and participate that is with people that are in that circle. They're going to be getting those opportunities on a regular basis. I'm part of Developers Boardroom, and we've just put 12 people together of sophisticated developers. We've actually got a fund of 30 million between 12 of us, specifically to buy acquisitions together or to introduce opportunities so we can take advantage of them very quickly. So that's what I mean about using the downtime to think more creatively about things that you might have done previously to take advantage of opportunities that will certainly be presenting themselves. And I think they're going to be presenting themselves 3-4 months down the line, not necessarily now, because we're still in the lockdown. We still don't understand where the market is. I was on a video conference yesterday with an economic analyst. Brett sent me a few bits and pieces. They all have different opinions where they think things are going to be based on a U shape or based on a V shape, So there's so many different things. Nobody has a crystal ball, and if they did, they would be a millionaire. But one of the things that I found really poignant over the last few days was Warren Buffett. He's in cash. He's in cash now. He knows more about investing than anyone on the planet. You know, he sold all of his positions in the airlines. He's put everything into cash because he knows opportunity is going to be knocking very loudly very soon, and he wants to be able to pounce. And the word is pounce, even at his tender age, on opportunities that are going to present themselves. So you need to be in cash, and
Do you know what? That's interesting that he dropped everything. I mean, he had 10% of Delta Airlines and a high percentage of other, you know, some of these airlines are the biggest in the world in the States, and he's just dropped his position in those completely and bailed out. So, you know, I know that he does a lot of due diligence, and he bases a lot of things on, you know, just about everything on facts. So, see, you know, if the world does change the way it travels, if airlines do change, I mean, you know, Branson and Virgin, I know for a fact from friends in Australia that he's trying to get a bailout from the Australians and get cash fund for Virgin Blue or whatever it is. And they've basically turned around and said, well, why should we fund a business that's not even a local Australian business? And, you know, he's trying to also get, I don't know, 3 billion or whatever it is funding in the UK. But I'm not sure if he's burnt bridges with people. I know that he ended up suing the NHS because he didn't get a tender or whatever it was. So it could be a turn for the travel industry. I don't know what's going to happen with airlines, and that's something that I'm just completely in the dark about, because, you know, that will have an impact on service accommodation and how we position ourselves, and within the hotels as well, and who we start to promote to.
But the market will recover, and there's a saying, especially Richard Branson, be nice to the people on the way up, because they're going to be people you meet on the way down.
Yeah.
And, you know, and if you have that philosophy, you know, the NHS have been great. You know, the UK has been amazing for Richard Branson so there's a lot of stuff that's bitter taste in lots of different areas. And, you know, when you're at a very high point, the UK government, not just the UK government, the UK press certainly like to shoot you down. They like you when you're an underdog, and they cheer you all the way till you get to the top. And so you get to the top, they want to knock off your pert. So that's a mentality that we have in the UK. So there will be some casualties in the airlines, and short term, I think the prices will come down. Long term, they'll probably go up because they want to get the activity going. But there will be some casualties. And going back to Warren Buffett, you know, he looks for undervalue. So, you know, we talk about distressed or below market value property. He looks for companies that are undervalued where they currently are, and he does that based on his knowledge and his research. And that's what we're doing in property. We look for opportunities where we can add value or something that's undervalued.
I mean, I heard on the radio the other day that they were saying that, you know, to get the airlines back to normal, that they're looking at anything from, you know, 2 to 4 years. So I suppose for him to have his money tied up in something for 2 to 4 years, and the amount of money that he probably has got tied up, he'd rather put that into something,
good point,
you know, that something like Ocado, for example, online shopping at the moment, you know, that is just through the roof. So stuff
massive
like
increase,
that, you know,
on a more property-based thing, actually, to be fair, one of the good things I heard this week, a couple of lenders have put their loan to values back up and are lending again, which is good news.
That's right.
I think one of the good things about our position now, opposed to 2008, 2009, is the banks they had very little core capital, 1 to 2% last time. Coming into it now, they've got over 15%. So actually, they've lowered the threshold they need, so they've got more cash than they need, which means they can lend. But also, it also gives an indication that if they're prepared to give 75%, you know, loan to values again, and go back to what it was before, that they've got a level of confidence in the marketplace, which is good, you know. And so
I agree.
You know, there's plenty of doomsayers, but I think a lot of the doomsaying is, you know, US centric. UK, I'm pretty confident, actually, to be fair. You know,
I feel the same way, actually. I'm fairly confident over the next 2 to 3 months that things are going to, you know, we're going to have a little mini boom to get us back on track, especially in the property world.
I think come July 1st we'll be in recession, without a doubt. But yeah, it's how long that lasts, I guess.
Yeah, recession short term.
I think we are very lucky in the UK that this has come at this period of time where we're going to be hitting the summer months. If we were in winter months, it would be far, far, far more severe, where people
Yeah.
can't get out, they can't have the
Yeah.
sunshine, they can't walk
Yeah.
around. I think we're very lucky. In fact, there's a plane going over here. They're back on track.
It's Richard. It's Richard.
My,
They're
my
escaping
radio control one.
to see Warren buy my airline.
It's really important as a country and as a nation, we don't talk things down, because people tend to, that's why I called it, I did it with Brett, the BBC, the big black cloud. Their news and information is so dire, and it's not reflective of what things are. And instead of trying to pick holes with the government all the time, why not applaud them for a lot of the things they've done? Everybody makes mistakes. Yes, hindsight is a wonderful thing. They could have done so much more, but you can't change the past. You can only look back at the past and say, what can I do in the future? What else can I do from now to make things better? That's what we need to focus on. How do we make things better? Looking back is not going to do anything. You can't move forward if you're looking in the rearview mirror the whole time. So it's really important that
right.
we...
I was going to say, if you're sitting there in fear, even right now, you need to go out there and find the real data and the facts and really come up with a strategy for your business. And if that means it's the same business as it was, fantastic. If that means you've got to pivot slightly, if that means, you've got to totally, get rid of that business and start a new one, well, fine. But I think, I do think there'll be changes. I don't think the changes will be as radical as certain people in the media might be saying. I think we will get back to travelling. I think we will. The question will be how we do that and when we do that. One of my mates actually works for a certain island down south beside Australia as tourism. And so talking to him about how they're looking to open back up the tourist routes and that sort of thing, Australia and New Zealand are actually looking to open up already. So they're talking about it already, travel between the country. The question will be what other countries you can travel to, and the trust, and that'll be really, the determinant of how airlines bounce back, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
boys,
interesting.
listen,
We're changing.
it's all very positive. From what I can hear, if I was an outsider listening to our conversations, for all the listeners out there, please do stay positive. There is a lot of opportunity coming our way. There's a lot of opportunity out there now. Some of you with inexperience in property may not be able to identify that, but you've heard from Emmanuel, 25 years experience. Brett kind of getting towards that, Jimmy and myself. So you've got multiple years of experience here, and we're not just saying this, because we're not selling anything here. We are saying this because this is how we genuinely feel that the HMO market will change. It will have another big. I think that it will have a good run for HMOs over the next 12 months, simply because of these things that have happened with the coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, will change the way people's habitat and how they live and that type of stuff, and trying to condense things into smaller properties and getting rid of ones that they don't really need because they don't need the excess. If you've got a 20-bedroom house, you can only live in one. Why have a 20-bedroom house? Turn it into an HMO. But service accommodation, it's changing. But I'm along, I guess, the lines of what you're saying, Brett, is that, and Emmanuel too, is that things will get back to normal. Don't know how long it will take, but it will get back to normal. People will revert back to what they know. It becomes your instinct. That's what you do. However, like Emmanuel referred to, if you weren't that happy with how you're progressing in life and financially, or with your knowledge of whatever it is that you're interested in, your passion, now is the time to educate yourself while don't get bored. Use this as an opportunity to learn about or find your passion. There may be something that you might not have your passion. Find it, think about it, and you've got this time to do that. So please don't waste your time. Don't use this as a holiday, because it's perfect opportunity to keep pushing. So, boys, anything else before we wind up? It's been quite a good long podcast, this one.
Enjoy the sun.
Not to finish. I don't mean to finish on a negative note, but I was just going to say too, the one thing I think that we will experience, because it's all good to say everything's going to be rose and dandy, I think because we're spending so much or borrowing so much money as a government, we're going to pay for that, and we'll pay for that through either increased taxes or interest rates, inflation. So inflation, which will raise interest rates. So, potentially that's something we'd look at. But I think that's at least 2 years away. So right now, I don't think that's the thing to worry about. I know I had a conversation yesterday, and it's like, oh no, we're going to have interest rates are going to go through the roof, and you shouldn't be doing anything. And I'm kind of like, there's no impetus for that right now. I think it is going to be at least 2 years when we're the other side of the virus. But yeah.
Yeah, interest rates. I mean, any increase in interest rates for a year or 2 or 3, I think would definitely. I mean, if we do go into recession, which I think is inevitable, we're just going to have a double dip with the recession, and it will. Yeah, I mean, we're at a record, below 1% here in the UK. If that were to double, I mean, that would be catastrophic for a lot of people, and I think it would, be worse than the coronavirus. I think if they start doing that, which I know that they know that they can't do. It's just, that would be absolute economic suicide anyway.
All over the edge, yeah.
Oh, mate, it would be worse.
If Colonel Phillips can raise over 30 million in just over 3 weeks, just by showing the spirit that we had when we went through the war, walking around his garden to give positivity and a light at the end of the tunnel, each and every one of us can do so much more. This is a man that is 100 years old, to coming to the end of his life, but his sheer determination, spirit, his zest for life, and what he's been able to choose has been nothing but magnificent. And each and every one can look at him and put our hand on our heart and say, we have so much more that we can contribute to the whole country, to the whole nation. We have things that we can do that can serve and give us a positivity. And that's what we're doing here today. And hopefully people will listen to this and they'll see that there is so much more that we all have and so many more opportunities if we're resourceful.
No, I was just going to say, what a way to turn around the country, to go from the negative environment that Brexit was to what has actually been a really positive, time. It really has been impressive, and the UK has really come together, which is awesome, and if we can keep this up, and if, wow, we can do amazing things. So, yeah, good.
Yeah, I agree. All right, boys.
All right, guys.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Enjoy the
Thanks,
sunshine.
Thanks,
Take care, Brett. See you, Brett.
You too, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.